So, what are the 5G performance targets? The 5G is derived to achieve some major targets. Those targets have been specified in light of requirements of use cases and the opportunities available. The performance targets can be listed as below. The first one is related to the data rates. So we are targeting in 5G to reach a peak data rate of 10 gigabit per second, while in 4G it was around 1 gigabit per second for the peak. The second performance factor is related to the latency, and we are targeting to have 1 millisecond latency, which is the time between sending and receiving the message at the receiver side. Also, the broadband is 1000 times faster per unit area compared to 4G. The other performance target is related to the number of connected devices. So in 5G, we have up to 100 times the number of connected devices per unit area compared to 4G. So here the meaning of massive machine type communication, where a bigger number of devices, sensors, and objects are connected to the 5G system. Then we have the availability of the network. So actually, high reliability and availability is one of the key design specifications for 5G. Many applications which are mission critical services, such as connected robotic factories, remote surgery, and driverless cars, are required to be always connected to the network. So the 5G architecture has been designed to be highly available and reliable, with redundancy integrated into every component. Actually, Release 15 is setting the reliability to something like 5 nines, or what is called 99.999, and Release 16 is setting it to 6 nines. And to imagine the availability using those numbers, the 5 nines means you have downtime per day something like 800 milliseconds. And for the 6 nines case, the downtime per day is something like 80 milliseconds. You can define the availability as the measure of the percentage of time the equipment is in operable state, while reliability is a measure of how long the item performs its intended function. The other performance target for the 5G is related to the coverage. So 5G is targeting to have 100% coverage to enable all locations and areas to be connected to the network using the different ways of access techniques. The other performance factor or target of the 5G is related to the reduction in network energy usage. So 5G is targeting to have 90% reduction in the network energy. The current reality is that the overall energy usage by the telecom industry needs to come down as the industry consumes between 2 to 3 of the global energy. The energy consumption constitutes between 20 to 40% of the network OPEX. So indeed, the 3GPP 5G specifications calls for 90% reduction in energy use. The last performance target of 5G is related to the battery life of the connected devices and sensors. So the 5G is targeting to have something like 10 years battery life for low power IoT device because of the techniques in 5G of reduced user equipment power consumption is achieved through reduced downlink monitoring, reduced signaling, and reduced uplink transmission by some features like the woke-up signals, the early data transmission, and the relaxed monitoring for cell reselection. This infographic is giving some indications about the speed and the data rates in different mobile generations. For GPRS, for example, we had like 50 kilobit per second data rates, and then we have some enhancements in the edge it reached something like 250 kilobit per second. And then we have the 3G or UMTS when we had something like 384 kilobit per second. And then we have the 4G, we can reach up to 150 megabit per second or a peak of 1 gigabit per second in some locations. With the 5G, we are targeting to reach something like 10 gigabit per second compared to 1 gigabit per second for the peak in 4G. And here, a list of the references that you can try to visit in case you need to get more information and more details about the different topics that we are discussing throughout the course.